Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather today. I'm meteorologist Al Peterlin. I'd like to talk about the weather health stresses for June 25th, 2026. This is a weather report. We keep additional graphics at tpatw.com. We also maintain a storefront on Amazon. Looking at the surface map for Thursday, we have one massive frontal system stretching all the way from northwestern Montana through Cheyenne, down into Denver, all the way to the Texas Panhandle, across Oklahoma City, St. Louis, up into Cleveland, and on into northeastern Canada. You'll note that unsettled weather will be stretching all the way from the Rockies, all the way through the Central Plains into the middle Mississippi Valley, the Ohio Valley, and on into New England. Of course, Florida will have a little bit of unsettled weather, mostly because of instability. Looking at our vitality index, which is a composite map of the individual weather elements that might have an impact on human health, and you can see we always have a little bit of something here in the Pacific Northwest. Very interesting little aspect here from Southern California on into Nevada. Lots of bubbly type activity across the Four Corners. More significant area across Oklahoma and up the plains into the middle Mississippi Valley. And I think we'll look at some instability here as we get to that chart. Note we also have some lingering activity here up in New England. Looking at pressure change, falling pressure is the focus of the period from British Columbia across Vancouver into western Washington, across northern Idaho and Montana. We also have falling pressure from the Texas Panhandle across Oklahoma into Kansas. Rising pressure we have here in New England, basically eastern Massachusetts, New Hampshire, and Maine. Looking at temperature changes, and temperatures are pretty well fixed. We have some cooler readings here in the northeast, lots of heat in the southwest and across the south, but note there is some activity in bubble type changes in temperature up and down here through the Four Corners, and wherever the temperatures rise this significantly in short periods of time, there is some migraine stresses. Looking at the changes in dew point temperatures, and again, this is rather significant. Note we have a very significant dry line from Southern California up through Nevada, a very sharp influx of moisture through West Texas on into New Mexico. And the vapor pressure is showing it, that very much highlighting that same western areas with the dry line up through western Arizona. But note that we have some drying behind that unsettled and lifted index area in Oklahoma. But note how wet we're getting across the whole eastern half or eastern third of the country. Looking at instability, you can see that while the plains are very unstable, we have that really significant or sharp unstable area across Oklahoma into Arkansas. Looking at the change in oxygen availability, and this map is a little bit more complex and difficult to talk about. It's the kind of thing where it's probably better if you understand your own sensitivities to take a look at the map itself, because in the Four Corners I can hardly break it apart, but note we have migraine stresses in the south of New Mexico, asthma and arthritis stresses across northern New Mexico, asthma and arthritis stresses across northern Arizona, and here up into the panhandle of Utah. Looking at migraine stresses, we have significant migraine stress here along coastal British Columbia, Vancouver, Washington, and Oregon, and coastal California. We also have a significant area of migraine stress from very much eastern Idaho across Wyoming into Nebraska, and then picking up just portions here of Colorado, northern Kansas, into southern Iowa, northern Missouri. Note we also have migraine stresses here across Massachusetts into New Hampshire and especially coastal Maine. Note the asthma and arthritis stresses as pretty typical here across North Dakota and eastern Montana, but note we have some asthma and arthritis stresses here across southern Kansas, western Oklahoma, and then from really the Missouri boot heel down through Arkansas into the toe of Louisiana, and then almost everywhere east, Tennessee, Kentucky, and picking up the Carolinas, all the way through Virginia, up into Maryland, and actually touching southeastern Pennsylvania. Note also a rather strong area of asthma and arthritis here across, especially the thumb of Michigan. Thanks for visiting the patient and the weather. Your comments are appreciated, and if you hurt, tell us where you're located.